Today I have some lovely side dishes I'm going to be sharing with you. These are going to be awesome for any kind of spring celebration, particularly Easter, but any kind of brunch get together, or if you're having family over on a Sunday afternoon and it's beautiful outside, these recipes are just perfect for this time of year. So maybe you're looking for some ideas for your Easter table, or you just want some fresh ideas for this spring, you'll definitely want to stick around. Well, hey, if we haven't met before, my name is Ange, welcome, and this is the Menu Made Kitchen. Well, I am super excited about this first recipe. This is a spring rice salad with lemon dressing. What I love about this recipe is you can definitely customize it with your favorite vegetables, but it's really simple to put together and it's so bright and fresh. It's different, which makes it kind of fun for any kind of Easter table or a spring celebration. This recipe is delicious. I know you're gonna love it. All right, let's start our lemony spring rice salad. So I have a pot here. You wanna make sure you have a fitted lid as well. We've got 1 tablespoon of olive oil. We're gonna be sauteing about 1/4 cup of sliced shallot. I don't want to brown these, I just wanna soften them. And then once that happens, we will add in our rice. Okay, our shallots are softened. I'm gonna add in 1 cup of basmati rice. And I did rinse this with cold water. And then we're gonna add in 2 cups of vegetable stock. You can also do chicken broth. And then we also have 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. We're gonna bring this to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we'll pop the lid on and turn it down to simmer. And we'll cook the rice for about 12 to 15 minutes, really until all of the water is absorbed. I pulled my rice off the stove. It's been cooking about 13 minutes and I took a little peek at it and all of the liquid is absorbed. So what we're going to be adding to this right now is we're going to do 1 cup of asparagus, and I just have about 18 asparagus spears and I cut them into little pieces almost the size of peas. And then we're also going to be adding some peas. We have about 1 cup of frozen peas that I thawed. So I'm going to add them to the pot now because I want the asparagus to kind of not cook completely, but soften a little bit. So we'll just add it right over the top of the rice. And then we're going to add in our peas. So just throw those in and then pop the lid back on. And then we're going to let this sit about 10 minutes. That'll give the asparagus time to soften and keep moving on with the steps. It's been 10 minutes. So I'm going to take my spoon and kind of fluff the rice. Obviously it's still very hot, but we want to mix it with the asparagus and the peas. And then we're actually going to transfer it over to our big bowl here. And we want to allow the rice to pretty much cool. We want it to cool down before we start adding in our dressing. And then we have some bell peppers that we're going to be adding. We want those to stay nice and crunchy. But already, doesn't that look so springy? It's going to be perfect. Okay, let's get this over here. And while this cools, we'll go ahead and make our lemon dressing. So for our dressing, I have 1/4 cup of olive oil. We're going to add in 1 lemon juiced, which is almost 1/4 cup, probably more like 3 tablespoons. We're also going to add in 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of honey. I also have a garlic clove here. I'm actually going to smash it instead of mincing it, just because I don't want this to like be overpowering with garlic flavor, just a little bit. And then I can pull that out when I pour the dressing over the rice. And then we're going to add in some herbs. I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons of parsley. And then I have about a big tablespoon of basil. Let's do a little salt and pepper. We can always add more if we need to. Okay, and that is it for this dressing. While our rice continues to cool, I'm just going to let this dressing kind of hang out. We'll let the garlic marinate in there and infuse our lemony dressing with lots of flavor. Our rice has cooled. It's still a teensy bit lukewarm, but it's pretty much ready to go. And actually, before we add in our dressing, let's add in our red bell pepper. So I have 1/2 cup here. And again, I like to dice everything really small so that each bite has a little bit of everything. Okay, all the dressing goes in. Yum. All right, does that not look so colorful and beautiful? I just love it. Okay, we'll toss everything together. Oh man, I can really smell the herbs. This is gonna be so yummy. What a great side dish to have with Easter, something a little bit different. Or for just a spring salad, you could even make this and add some chicken to it and have it for a lunch during the week. That would be fantastic. This is gonna be fabulous. Let's get ourselves served up and try this together. Okay, isn't that so much fun? So bright and cheery. I love dishes like this. All right. I am telling you, this is such a great flavored rice salad. What I love is you start with the foundation of like infusing the rice with the vegetable broth and the onions, because you definitely taste that. But then you add the freshness with the herbs and the lemon juice, and then the tender vegetables. I love that the asparagus isn't mushy or too soft. It still has a little bit of crispness to it, but not like raw. It's just perfect. Such a great salad to have for an Easter side dish. Or like I said, make for a weekday lunch and add some chicken to it. It would be awesome. This would even be really good with like wild rice. You do brown rice if you want, do it with couscous, but just getting these flavors and textures, it's fantastic. Such a great salad. So for our honey mustard warm potato salad, we are going to start with 2 pounds of baby potatoes. I'm going to cut these in half. You can also do them in quarters if you want the potatoes smaller. Actually, some of these I'll probably have to do in quarters because they're a little bit larger. This is a fun recipe because if you've never had like a roasted potato salad where they roast the potatoes first, it just gives it great texture. It's really fun, something a little bit different. There's no mayonnaise in this, so it's a great dish if it's a warm day and you're going to be, doing your Easter dinner outside, or if you're going to be letting it set out for a bit. You don't have to worry about the dressing spoiling or anything like that. So I'm going to get all of these potatoes prepped. I have my oven set at 400, and we are going to roast these in the oven for a bit and then make our dressing. It's just so easy. I have 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then for our seasonings, I have 2 teaspoons of lemon pepper seasoning. This is the dash, so it doesn't have any salt. So I am going to be adding about 3/4 teaspoon salt. I've got a little pinch of pepper, and then I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme. And like I said, I have my oven set at 400. I've got a large sheet pan. I added some parchment paper down, and we'll roast these about 35 to 40 minutes. You really want them to be golden brown and obviously tender. And while that happens, we will make our dressing. Pull our sheet pan over here. Okay, and then you're going to want to spread these out into an even layer. That way each potato gets nice and roasty. Okay, that's perfect. Let's get these in the oven. I am going to toss them about halfway through. And while that happens, we'll make our dressing. So for our honey mustard dressing, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I have 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I have 1.5 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, and then I have 2 teaspoons of whole grain Dijon mustard. We also have 2 tablespoons of honey. And then I'm going to start out by seasoning it with salt and pepper just a little bit, and then I can always taste it and add more. So a little pinch of salt and a little pinch of pepper. And that is it for the dressing. Super easy. Okay, let's give it a taste. Okay, that is perfect. It definitely has lots of zing from the mustard, but you get that little bit of sweetness from the honey and a teensy bit of vinegar, which I just love. This is going to be so good over the potatoes. And that's all we have to wait for, and then we're going to put this together. Our potatoes are out of the oven, and they're fork tender, and they're nice and roasted. So I think I'm just going to pinch the sides of the parchment together and try and just dump this whole thing in my bowl. Make it easier. Oh my gosh. Okay, or not do that. I'm just showing you what it's like to be a real home cook. There is nothing fancy about this. You definitely want to put the salad together when it's nice and warm like this. So we are going to add in some onion. I have about, 3/4 cup of red onion. I think I'm just going to start with like a 1/2 cup. I don't want it to be too overpowering. And then I have a couple tablespoons of chopped up parsley, and then pour on all this delicious dressing. And you know, these potatoes would be excellent with the pork roast that I made in last week's Easter dinner recipes. I mean, it already has some roasted veggies, but these potatoes would be really good with it. So what's going to happen, there's definitely still lots of dressing, but because the potatoes are nice and warm, they're going to absorb all the dressing. So don't feel like when you're tossing it, you're like, whoa, this is a lot of dressing. As it sits and soaks up all that goodness, it's going to be perfect. Pretty much, this is ready to serve. So let's give it a taste. Okay, check that out. Well, you just did, but these potatoes have such a beautiful presentation. Very simple, you know, there's not a lot of stuff going on in here, but I think that this is very inviting. And I would be thrilled if I saw this on an Easter table as a side dish. Okay, I gotta have a little bit of onion and a little potato. Here we go. I love that the potatoes are still just a teensy bit warm and they're so creamy on the inside, and the flavor of that dressing is all throughout the whole potato. These are so delicious. What a fun side dish for really any occasion. They'd be great with ham, roasted chicken, roasted pork, beef. They're just a very versatile, I think it's a very versatile potato side dish. So good. Definitely have to try these ones. Okay, so for our pesto pasta salad, we're going to start by making our dressing. This is a 3-ingredient dressing and it's going to be delicious. I am going to use a prepared pesto from the grocery store, but feel free to make your own. This is a 6.7-ounce jar. All of it goes in there. And it seems like a lot of pesto, but you want to make sure that your pasta is well coated. And then we're going to be doing 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise and 2 tablespoons of full-fat plain Greek yogurt. We'll mix everything together. So I've already pre-cooked my pasta. I use cavatappi pasta, and I cooked it for about 9 minutes, just until it was al dente, and then drained it and rinsed it in cold water to stop the cooking. That looks perfect. And then the only other thing that I had to prep was my cherry tomatoes. I halved these. Everything else is pretty much just dump it in and you're good to go. And you can customize it. You can add asparagus or peas to this if you wanted to, you know, really jazz it up or add more veggie, but I'm going to keep this really simple. And we have a pretty large bowl here, and then I'll transfer my noodles into a prettier dish, but it'll just be easier to mix everything in a bigger bowl. So in go the cherry tomatoes. This was just a one pint bag. And then we have these adorable little mozzarella balls, about a cup, one to snack on. We're also going to add in a cup of arugula. Now, if you don't like the peppery flavor of arugula, just leave it out. And then we're going to do 1 cup of baby spinach. I just think that that looks like a bowl that represents Easter and spring and sunshine. Okay, and then we have our dressing. And just to let you know, I did add a little bit of water to this just because I felt like it was too thick. And I definitely want it to combine well with everything. So I'm going to add all of this. You definitely want all of the dressing. And I have a nice big spatula here, and we'll give everything a toss. It smells so delicious. I love the smell of pesto. I love the scent of like the basil and garlic. It smells so yummy. I think that looks good. I'm going to give it a little taste. I want to make sure we don't need any salt, but I am going to add a little bit of pepper. Okay. That is so incredible. That is really good. And you know what? I didn't even get any of the arugula, but I can taste a little bit of pepperiness from it. But I'm going to add a little more pepper. It doesn't need any salt. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to transfer this, like I said, to a bowl, and then I am going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese over the top and just garnish it with some fresh basil to make it look pretty, and then we'll taste it together. Does that not look gorgeous? I just love it. And even just dragging it across my nose, the scent of that basil and garlic, like I said, it's fantastic. All right, got to get a little bit of everything. Oh yeah. So much flavor with just a few ingredients. That's what I love. And this would be a fantastic Easter side dish. So if you are going to somebody's home, I feel like I have pesto on my side of my mouth. If you are going to somebody's home for Easter, this would be perfect because it only takes probably 30 minutes or less to make. You boil the noodles, cut some tomatoes up, and throw it together. It's so fast. Or if you're hosting, it would be a great recipe as well because it's kind of a no fuss recipe. And we definitely need more of those when we are hosting. So good. You have to try this. If you don't for Easter, definitely make it for spring, summertime. Another salad you can add some chicken to. Delicious. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. Don't forget all the recipe links are in the descriptions. And if you enjoyed this video and you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I hope you have a really blessed week and we will see you next time.